In today's video I want to talk about one important subject that surrounds the idea of Forex trading education or just trading education in general. This subject, or idea to be more precise, is called the Orienting Reflex, and it was discovered by a Russian physiologist called Ivan Sechenov in 1863. The Orienting Reflex is a deep biological intuition that drives people to learn about what they don't understand. This is a really interesting idea because the orienting reflex changes the degree in which it appears depending on the type of person we deal with and her personality. There are individuals with an extremely high orienting reflex, which are the people who are constantly looking to understand how everything around them works in the smallest details. On the other hand, a person with a weak orienting reflex is not too concerned about the mechanics of her surroundings. The orienting reflex plays a major role in learning for obvious reasons, but it's actually deeper than that because it shapes the types of answers a person looks for in many different areas of life. Transposing this idea to the trading world, the orienting reflex is what determines how deep you want your analysis of the market to be. For example, a person with a strong orienting reflex will seek to understand every single movement in a price chart, and she is not going to rest until she finds out the motive for those movements. That is obviously going to guarantee that a person with a high orienting reflex will learn as much as she can about the market in every possible and conceivable way. On the other hand, a person with a weak orienting reflex will look for easy answers, and that's a really dangerous idea in the financial markets. For example, a person with an exceptionally weak orienting reflex will only look for simple setups to trade in the markets. This person will also not care at all about the ideas that sustain the types of setups that she is going to use. In other words, a person with a weak orienting reflex does not care about how something works as long as it works well enough. Before you jump into conclusions about which one of these two types of person has a better chance of succeeding in the market, let's compare the advantages and disadvantages of the two. Let's analyze two individuals. One with a high orienting reflex and one with a low orienting reflex. Vertically speaking, let's compare the learning drive and the practicality potential. A person with a high orienting reflex has a proportionally high learning drive, and that means this person will have a much greater chance of actually understanding how the market works in its smallest components. The person with a low orienting reflex will have a low learning drive, and she will look for easy answers most of the time. This is something that can work in certain areas of life, but not in the markets. Once again, simple answers to complex problems imply geniality, and implying geniality in a trivial manner like that is not very smart ironically. In terms of practicality, a person with a high orienting reflex will have a hard time acting out her knowledge, and this is partly due to the Dunning-Kruger effect that we study in the Fractal Flow video course. This person is also more likely to suffer from analysis paralysis, which is when there is so much information available to process that the decision-making dynamic becomes impossible. A person with a low orienting reflex is usually more practical in general terms. This is not a rule, of course. That's just how things are generally speaking. The reason for this is that a person with a low orienting reflex is less worried about what can go wrong in a given situation. She is more focused on the outcome. Analogously to the disadvantage of analysis paralysis in the paradigm of a high orienting reflex person, the low orienting reflex person can suffer from objective blindness in the market, which is when a trader tries to apply some sort of simplistic mathematical formula to solve a situation that is inherently subjective. As you can see, there are advantages and disadvantages to both types of people. Please bear in mind that I'm being extremely generic about this just to make this video easier to understand and practical. If we consider these two possibilities of high and low orienting reflexes as rules, we can derive the idea that there are exceptions to these rules, meaning that there can be individuals who only experiment the advantages of both types and individuals who experiment only the disadvantages. Another important point here is that you can actually train your orienting reflex by engaging in activities that demand high intellectual power, like studying, for example. To be a successful trader, you kind of have to be an exception to the rule regarding this idea of the orienting reflex. You must have a high learning drive, but you also need to be able to learn how to bypass the pitfalls of worrying too much about detail, otherwise you will get stuck. For the purposes of this video, I want to make a little survey, and I would like to politely ask you to participate actively in the comment section. If you think you are a person with a high orienting reflex, write high orienting reflex in the comment section and try to give us an example of why that's the case. If you think you are a low orienting reflex person, do the same thing but write low orienting reflex instead along with the reasons for it. If this poll turns out to be successful and people end up engaging in it, you will be able to see that there are very peculiar situations in which traders find themselves in and that are actually pretty common despite the fact that people believe they are the only ones that feel in such a way. Please participate in the poll so we can compare experiences and learn about each other. Maybe we can end up figuring out something really important with this exercise. That's it for this video. If you like the work we are doing here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave your feedback below in the comment section. If you would like to take your trading abilities to the next level, visit our strategy store and check out the Fractal Flow Strategy video course or send us an email at any time in the email address in the video description. Thank you for watching.